As someone who's just stopped being completely intimidated by flash photography, I wasn't sure what I was getting myself into when Neewer asked me to try out a strobe. I wasn't exactly sure what a strobe was, but I thought I could throw it onto my camera's hot shoe and take a few photos. It would be a good experience. I may have bitten off more than I can chew. So one of the obvious differences between a strobe, like the Neewer Q4, and the speedlight, the Neewer Z3R, is obviously the speedlight is so much more portable. I can actually mount this on the hot shoe of my camera and take it around with me pretty easily, or I can even hand hold it or put it on a light stand. But with the Q4, you absolutely need to put it on a light stand because it weighs over 4 pounds. One thing I have noticed, though, with the extra weight is that the strobe doesn't seem like it's going to get knocked over as easily on the light stand. I've mounted this on a light stand, and I definitely accidentally kicked it over. I'm one of the more clumsier people you'll ever meet, and I can knock over any kind of tripod or light stand. Another huge difference between the size and portability is that the strobe is much more powerful. It can put out 400 watts. Or my speedlight can only do 100 watts. And the one thing that I've noticed is that the strobe is a lot more powerful out in the sunlight. My speedlight does okay, but this seems to be able to overpower the sun. It really was able to light up my subject even in the brightest sunshine. I've actually been invited to photograph my second wedding in August, and it's going to be an outdoor wedding. So having a strobe might really be helpful to photograph the bridal party out in the harsh sun. Before I take this out in the backyard to do some practice shots, I just wanted to make sure that my Godox IT30 mini flash would be able to trigger this. So setting it up wasn't too hard. All I had to do was press and hold this power button, and then you have to rotate this wheel to unlock it. And I'm using a Godox trigger, so I wasn't sure how easy this would be to set up with Godox. But all I had to do is go into this menu button up here, and then I had to scroll all the way down, and I had to go into RX compatible mode and make sure that was turned on. But then on my Godox IT30, which is a mini flash, but it also works as a trigger, I just had to make sure I was in transmitter mode. And I just had to make sure that my group and my channel and my ID number all matched what was on the Neewer Q4. I think it's working. I've obviously already unboxed the Neewer Q4, but I just wanted to show you this really nice carrying case that it came with. And it does come with an AC power supply, so you can plug it right into the wall. Now, it comes with this standard reflector, but since the Q4 has a Bowens mount, you can add different kinds of soft boxes and other kinds of light modifiers. There's just a few other buttons I wanted to show you. This one's for the modeling lamp. That's really helpful. It lets you kind of get an idea of what your shot's going to look like. Now, this button here with the H and the lightning bolt is really important. I didn't press that, and I wasn't able to get my shutter speed to go any faster than 1/250th. When I was outdoors, I wanted my shutter speed just to be a bit faster, just because I didn't feel like using an ND filter out in the sunlight. But once I got the high-speed sync to work, now I can have my shutter go all the way up to 1/8000th if I wanted it to. And here's your group and channel button. I just want to make sure I have mine still set to A. And then, of course, that's the menu button. And this is your mode button, so you can go between TTL, which is through the lens, or you can go manual. I'm actually preferring using manual mode and setting my own power. What I'm finding with flash photography, it's just a lot of experimentation and finding out what you think looks best. Just a lot of testing. And this second button down is for your optical slave modes, the S1 and S2. You can use it to trigger another flash. I haven't really learned much about these yet. When I saw that the strobe came with a cord, I thought that I always had to plug it in, but it actually comes with a 21.6 volt battery, and you can get 325 flashes off of this. I guess it takes about 210 minutes to charge, but once this thing is charged up, I think it could take me through pretty much an entire day of shooting. So I was able to find the softbox by Godox and Octobox 60, and I saw Marcus Pix using one of these, and it opens up just like an umbrella, and it has that Bowens mount, so I was able to screw it right onto the Q4. But one word of caution. When you're attaching a softbox to the Neewer Q4, you gotta make sure that you hear a click after you turn it, or it's not securely fastened. I found that out the hard way, as you'll see. All you have to do to take this reflector off that it comes with is press in this button here. Once you get it on the Q4, you just want to make sure you twist it until it locks. And then you're ready to set it on your light stand. This was a pretty easy softbox to set up, and this just gives you a nice, even, softer light. Since funds are a bit tight and I can't afford a model, I decided to use Frida here as a stand-in. I decided to take her outdoors to see exactly how the Q4 would work in the harsh sunlight. I noticed when I was doing some testing in my bedroom studio using the reflector it came with, I got some more harsh shadows than when I used the softbox. It really did seem to even out the lighting. Just as I was taking my first test shots and trying to get everything adjusted, I decided to move my softbox over just a little bit, and that's when I discovered it wasn't fastened properly. So when the softbox fell off, I was just about ready to give up. I thought, who do you think you are trying to review a strobe? You're no professional. But I went into the house and took a deep breath and found a tutorial on how to secure things on a Bowens mount. I decided to use a strobe in manual mode because that's what I saw Chelsea Northrup doing. She set her ISO to 100 and said just to have fun and experiment, so that's what I did. I opened my aperture to f2.8 to try to blur out the power lines in the background, and after turning on high-speed sync, I was finally able to get my shutter speed up to 1/500th. I was so frustrated when it was locked to 1/250th. Here's my first photo, not using the strobe at all. She kind of disappears into the shadows. She doesn't really stand out from the background. I started out with 1/8 power, but as you can see, that was quite a bit too strong. So then I went to 1/32nd. It was a bit better. I discovered that my sweet spot was about 1/256th. They say the color temperature on this light is 6,000 Kelvin. I don't know much about color temperature, but I really like the look of this light. I normally use auto white balance, but this time I decided to switch it to flash. I'm pretty pleased with how it looks. I didn't use any presets in Lightroom or anything. I really wasn't sure I could make a review on a strobe, seeing as that I'm not a professional and I'm not used to using them. Ruthie, what the hell? I'm not comfortable rattling off a bunch of specs like the recycle time is 1.2 seconds on full power, but after seeing the way a strobe can light up a subject even in harsh sunlight, it really made me feel fortunate to be able to try this out. I know that if I were to take a portrait of a bride and groom in the harsh midday sun, this light would make them look amazing. I have a small confession to make. After spending a couple hours troubleshooting just why I couldn't get the Godox IT30 to fire off the Q4, I came to the realization that I never put the bulb in. I didn't notice a separate bulb in the package, and it took watching a tutorial to figure out what my problem was. I had even emailed Neewer thinking that my Godox IT30 just wouldn't trigger the Q4, but I just hadn't put in the bulb. If you're trying to decide whether to get a speedlight or a strobe, I definitely think a strobe is a powerful tool, especially if you're trying to shoot in harsh sunlight. A speedlight is definitely more compact and easier to carry around, But when you need that little bit of extra power out in the bright sun, I think a strobe might be a better option. If you're interested in getting a Neewer Q4 strobe, I did put an affiliate link in the description below. If you like this video, give it a like, consider subscribing for more photography-related content from a newbie like me. God bless.